Opening up the conversation and talking about this. Hey everybody, welcome to Froggy Stonks. Nothing I say is financial advice, entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. Redbox, what the fuck? I'm seriously like, what the hell? This is so crazy. I am not for Redbox whatsoever. If you got in and made money, good for you. But there's some big issues here with short interest, with the ownership of who's in Redbox, like Apollo Global Management, and how Redbox is moving and having that insane reported short interest. But we all know AMC is diluted like crazy, yet reported incorrectly and is being suppressed magically. But when Apollo Global Management owns a stock, suddenly it runs. So here we go. Twitter space call. All right, what everybody? What's going on? Redbox. WTF. How is it possible? Starting out one, how is it possible for a company to be shorted 200%? Doesn't make any freaking sense. Why is this short interest being reported correctly, yet GME and AMC is not? We all know it's not, because the more than likely the average share count per AMC holder is at least 500. So that would mean that is almost 2 times more than the legally issued outstanding shares. So how is Redbox being reported at 200% short interest, moving the way it's moving with little or no resistance from any type of downward pressure from the market? How is it going up that high with 200% short interest and the outstanding share size that it has? It's super interesting. The first thing I want to note, and please join in if you want to talk about this, please. The first thing I want to note is that Apollo Global Management is at least a 15% majority stakeholder in this play. It's absolutely crazy.
And other thing too, Spence, correct me if I'm wrong, I was kind of watching this morning. It was ripping and I never saw a halt.
Right. I don't know if it did the volatility necessary, but it looks like it did.
I saw 10% jumps. I mean, yeah. AMC farts and it freaking gets halted.
What's it got to be, 10% in a 15-minute period or 5-minute?
I think at the opening it's even smaller.
Yeah.
I think it's a lower one at the opening.
Well, here's my thing. We're sitting here knowing Apollo owns a majority stake in this company. It's a dead company. They don't have a revenue stream worthy enough of... I mean, the short thesis that they said for AMC is Redbox to a T. So my question is, where's the ape hunters? Where's freaking Gasparino? Where's all these clowns that were talking bad about AMC and GME all year? And we're sitting here with Redbox that is a literally, no offense against Redbox or anything, but they're not profitable, man. There's nothing going on with them.
They just sold to the chicken sold for the soup for 53 cents a share.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it and I sold it at 10 the first run. I just was playing as a pump and dump. And I sold it when that happened. I was like, what the heck? It's a 53-cent stock.
If you got in and made money, good for you, by the way. I'm not going after anybody for doing this, but I want to figure out what is really going on here. The chicken soup thing's really important because of Apollo. And there's actually a pretty good article that came out from Forbes. Of course, Forbes drops an article out on the open for free for you to read on this. Right?
They do nothing for free.
No. So we're sitting here watching AMC be mistreated like nobody's business. We know we're way over the float, legally issued. Probably well over 2 billion shares at this point. Short interest climbing, cost to borrow climbing. Short interest more than likely is completely misreported. But suddenly you have a stock drop on the market with tons of news coverage, no negative sentiment against it, with 200% short interest in Apollo Global Management, which acquired the company as part of its purchase of Outer Wall Inc. for $1.6 billion in 2016. Will own approximately 15% of the chicken soup after the transaction is completed.
Well, my feeling, and I'm not a financial person advisor, but they rated crypto probably as much as they can, and this is another liquidity pump and dump.
Yeah.
Just my feeling.
it's crazy that when it's beneficial for them to report massive short interest, they can do it. I mean, at what point in time was it legal to have a company shorted over 200%? Market makers can only make 40% to facilitate their market problems. But I just, man, it's absolutely insane. How do you consider this to be a working market when you have a company like Redbox shorted illegally past what's being allowed, pumped like nobody's business on all these media outlets, and then none of the MSM that's been talking shit about AMC, which is probably going to be profitable in Q2, nobody says a word. Where's Lightshed at? Where's Lightshed talking about Redbox? It's absolutely insane, man. I guess it depends on what side of the play you're on for the big boys. If you're on the side of the play where you know you're going to make money because you've manipulated the market, then the MSM's not going to come out and attack you.
Well, who owns MSN?
Exactly. Exactly. So we're all sitting here watching this Redbox run, which honestly, when's the last time I used the Redbox was probably 2017, right?
I think my grocery store, I was looking for that. I think they pulled it out. I don't think their Redbox is in there anymore.
Right. They're usually got like knife carvings on the screen or some kind of crap in the inner cities. So I guess let's go over Redbox. Let me go to Fidelity and I'll bring up Redbox. And now I guess the only thing worthy of Redbox maybe would be the licensing involved. I don't know. I mean, it's not like you can't just go out and get licensing to provide some kind of like streaming service, but why would Redbox have any value if it's just holding DVDs and licensing for that? Does Redbox have any other source of revenue stream? Because it's funny. It's just funny to me that
But
there's
I
no.
their only assets are their actual Redbox thing. That when I bought it like at 2 and I dumped it at 10 really quick. Not a lot, just threw some money I goofing around.
Right.
But when I was reading into it, their assets were only the Redbox. There's really no assets there. And I think they do have a streaming app. I don't think they really stream anything though. But I mean, there was no value I bought it. I literally this is the first time I ran, not just recently. This is
right.
a month or so ago. I was just kind of goofing around, threw a few $100 at it, screwed around.
No, good for you, man. That's like I said, if you made money off it, good for you. But I'm just sitting here trying to comprehend how there's no negative MSM sentiment. None of the stock bashers are coming after it from Gasparino to Lightshed. None of the ape hunters are coming after it. And
it's frustrating, but when things like this happen, it just makes me more convicted that we're right.
Right.
You know what I mean? I used to get mad. I used to yell at Adam Aaron on Twitter. Some people ban me because of it. I kind of just realized it is what it is, and we got them. They're freaking desperate. It costs us nothing to hold, and they're bleeding. I mean, Melvin's gone. Tiger's going under. I mean, they're bleeding. They're hemorrhaging.
Right.
Oh, yeah, baby. How you guys doing?
What's up, man?
To confirm, they do have on demand. You can actually even rent Jurassic Park, the new one, but I don't know if it's set to release. Like you can pre-rent it, I guess. But they have other ones you can rent on demand as well.
So they do have an on-demand streaming service.
Yeah, and that's what Chicken Soup thing was there. Why they bought it is because they wanted the streaming service to grow their platform.
Right. So they're probably going to put their content, or they're going to use it because it's already a built platform. The other streaming, I mean, what are your big three in the streaming ones that you would think of that come to mind? Are probably like Amazon,
Netflix,
Prime,
Hulu, Amazon,
Netflix, Hulu,
Disney Prime,
right.
Disney. Apple's even getting involved with it as well too.
Yeah, Ted Laszlo, gotta love that.
Yeah, as far as like as far as the ones that have the money that are dumping money for sure. Apple, I think, is dumping $12 billion in there, which, I mean, if you look at them, they're a $196 billion company, so it's like a drop in the pan for them. And then I think Amazon is only doing $7 billion this upcoming year. with their investments towards their content and whatnot. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think Apple's going to own that world because of the money they have, the deep pockets.
I think also the relationships and the connections they have. I mean, to come out of the gates with like a show like The Morning Show that had Renee or Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell,
Yeah,
on some of them, like, and then you had that other show C with Momoa, and then Ted Lasso, which did really, really well.
and then that movie, the Deaf
Coda.
Oda, that was an awesome movie.
Coda actually won them an Oscar, so
Yeah.
they kind of were the last of the game, and then got the first Oscar for a streaming service. So
I have a customer who's in the LA area, and they do more film production, and it's probably slowed down, but at the height of all the streaming, it was getting really expensive to make movies because all the film, all that stuff's all third party. The studios don't usually own everything. It was getting a fortune, and you couldn't even get on the calendar to get cameras and the trucks and the lighting and get permits. It was like a free for all. So that was kind of interesting to see how costly it was getting for them to make stuff.
Yeah. The other thing too is like, sorry, just super quick. The other thing too is like for someone like Apple, how like you can basically justify your budget, and from like a marketing standpoint, everyone on the morning show had MacBooks or freaking Apple products and all this stuff. So you have product placement that you're also not having to pay for because it's your own content.
I probably could write off as a business expense.
Right?
Hey, can I ask you guys a question? Hey, I want to ask you guys a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Have you guys, you followed that interview with Doug from Virtue, from Doug Seafood?
I didn't.
You did? So, if they can make shares infinitely on the dark pool, how exactly do we beat that?
Got to get Gary Gensler to suspend dark pool trading for retail, man, and everybody knows it. That's the number one payment for order flow cancellation is going to help, because then even at minimum the auction house would help, because then market makers aren't going to be able to go straight to brokers and buy order flow. But the retail trade's going to dark pool
right now. I mean, there's got to be tons and tons. I mean, they're going to say, like, listen, we understood this, and, technically there's no way we can cover these billions of shares. We're just going to settle on something.
Well, that interview, he basically admit that they make shares up. This is going to be a 2008 bailout bullshit thing again. This is going to get a big nightmare, and all the big banks and all the big hedge firms are going to go begging to the government to bail them out again, or everything will crash.
I think they already did. I think that's why it hasn't crashed. I think this time they went to the Fed and they went to the SEC and the Treasury and said, hey, we need bailed out again. And they said no. But in a way they said, okay, well, we can create synthetic shares to dilute these positions, and then our position will look better and retail will go home and run away. Well, we didn't. So now I think that was the plan, to create all these synthetics, which diluted the stock from 72 down to $10, and that's why we all own so many shares now.
Yeah, I agree. I think they had no idea that we would not only stay, but increase our positions as it went down, that we really didn't care. We're buying the dip. We don't care. We really don't care what the
Okay,
price
but
is.
say we have all these shares and stuff like that, and they're trying to address, inflation and everything like that. We're going to have 4 million apes who are now billionaires in a matter of seconds.
Yep.
I mean, what does that do? I mean, how does that work?
Well, it's taking money from someone else. It doesn't come out of thin air. It's just transferring to the
No, they're printing it. That's what I'm saying. It'd be one thing if they were losing it, but they're going to print it and bail these guys out. So they're not going to lose any money. They're going to print us money and say, hey, we're done with it. Let's continue as is.
Well, if we do move us that big, the Biden's already brought up multiple times that they are going to change capital rules. We're going to get nailed as if it's a short-term capital gain. We're going to lose half the money to taxes, no matter what.
I mean, listen, if we get $6 million and you lose $3 million, are you really hurting that much?
I'm not, but I'm just saying I'm totally fine with it. That's one way they fix a lot of the problems. They're just going to put this tax in to fix a lot of it. And they've already dropped that idea, the changing long-term capital gains tax in the federal government. They've already kicked that around. It's already been talked about.
I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I'm cool collected. I keep buying shares every single day. It just seems like at some point, how they're going to drag this out and how many shares we're going to have. I've already tripled my position since I started. It's got to stop some point.
I've been buying like every 2 weeks of my pay period, and I can't believe how many shares I have just buying my 401k. I mean, I start off with a few hundred, and it's insane how many shares I have right now.
Here's what kills me. The positions they want to run, they let run. The positions they don't, they suppress. And it's blatantly obvious when you have Apollo Global Management, who owns 34.5 million shares of REDBOX. And what's the outstanding on it? Like, let me look it up again.
We are really passionate about this, and we have a really good handle on the corruption, but we're probably like 2% of the total population. That's how they, I mean, when that interview you watch, when they talk about liquidity and we put 2 and 2 together, that means naked shares. Most people watching that interview are saying, oh yeah, that makes sense. Most people don't get it.
so?
2% of the population of global population, or population that's actually investing in Wall Street?
No, meaning that actually get what's going on. The quote unquote ape type of scenario. I mean, a lot of people invest, they send it to a broker, they got 401ks. Those are considered investing, but you're not. You're giving it to someone to rip you off, basically.
So Fidelity's showing shares outstanding for REDBOX is 45.3 million. I don't know if that's up to date because their short interest is only showing 33%. But Fintel is showing 200% short interest on REDBOX. And institutional shares long is 36.7 million, which Apollo Global owns the majority of that.
Now, look at the volume, too. Look at the volumes. It's like 3 times the actual number of shares.
It's absolutely insane. It almost makes me wonder if somehow they're trying to roll the movement we could be in into AMC into other plays.
Oh, I guarantee it. Well, I think they want you to roll into it, and it's going to go down just as fast as it went up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like I was watching it this morning. I'm like, there's no way I'm buying it at $9. Like if it dropped down to 3, I might throw some money at screwing around again. But I'm like, it's so expensive right now. And I mean, look, it's already back down. It's only up. I say only. It's at 1360. I mean, it reached 15, I think, today at one time.
Yeah, but it's on an uptick right now too.
Or almost the last hour of the day. The Dow is actually getting better. I thought the Dow was going to crash 1,000 points today, was my guess.
I'm trying to pull up their earnings here.
Oh, I don't think they have any.
I got to double check just in case.
Am I wrong in this? Like, do I have my information wrong on this? Like, the 2008 crash was basically a big cause of like the freaking housing market and defaulted loans from the banks. The banks needed to bail out the most. The difference with this, it feels like these are hedge funds that basically gambled and kind of like shit the bed. They shouldn't be getting no freaking handout from the government to stay afloat.
But the problem is most of these short positions are margined, and they're margined through banks. Look at the derivatives of JP Morgan. It's like 10 times the amount of derivatives they had in 2008. It's insane. I forget how many $1 trillion worth it is.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the movie The Other Guys?
Yes.
So at the end, they had like nothing to do with like. Well, I mean, I guess the whole thing was like a comedy, right? But then you see all these stats that they give at the end of it, and they basically said it's the same thing that they're doing today. It's like they just basically renamed it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a derivative issue. The same issues that they just package different things up and re-leverage it all. I mean, I don't understand how they're surviving all this, the bad bonds in Russia and China. I mean, how are they not getting liquidated on that?
Especially when they cut off their revenue from there because of all the tension and stuff, and they try and pull the woke card and be like, well, we're not taking more money.
Let's not forget that Bill Hane got around margin calls by not answering the phone, which is crazy.
So
I mean, how basic is that?
I mean, if they call and you don't pick up, then you never got the phone call.
They can't foreclose on me if I'm not around. Can't serve the papers.
you look up their Q1 earnings. It's just crazy that it's another streaming. It's the DVD company, we all know that, but another streaming platform that is completely untouched by MSM, by the ape hunters, by anybody who's negative AMC, and this thing's running the way it is. It's just wild.
No one's calling it a meme stock either.
Right. You there? You're breaking up if you're talking. I can't hear you. Can I hear anybody?
We're tanking hard right now.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, Bitcoin's in 28.9, so 29. Ethereum 1670.
Ooh, when did Bitcoin tumble? I missed that.
Last couple hours.
Nice.
Yeah.
I said I think Bitcoin's probably going to try tagging 25. Bitcoin's is one of the same things, man. The institutions are trying to lure people in. When they figure out they can't, they're just going to dump. They're going to let their base go.
Oh, well, look at Luna. I mean, geez. Glad I had none of that. I hope no one had any of that. I feel bad if you did, but geez, that was incredible.
Me and my brother don't really get along, but we kind of communicate through our mom, right? And I told her, I said, yeah, it was like, Luna's a terrible investment. I don't know why he's in it. And then she calls me back like a month later. Hey, your brother said he was like a millionaire for like 5 minutes and he couldn't take his money out and then he lost all his money. And I said, in Luna? And she said, yeah. And I said, I told you.
Have you seen that? There's a commercial out there. I can't remember what it's for, but it talks about, it's like a CEO goes, hey, we're going to pay you on Bitcoin. You're all millionaires. We're all like, yeah. He goes, oh, wait, you're all broke. They're all, oh. It's a pretty funny commercial.
I mean, Wojak covers all that stuff in the cartoons they make. So,
yeah, I think Bitcoin, when all this happens and spreads out, we might be able to pick some up in the teens.
so I'm sitting here wondering who is short. Fintel is saying there's only one institution short out of 50. So you're telling me that one institution shorted 2 times the float? Which Apollo owns all the shares, so did they loan all their shares out to somebody to short it on purpose? So that they could report high short interest to try to lure retail in, play the upside, rug pull it, and then play the downside.
I wouldn't doubt that, because I think and I fall for it too sometimes. One of our downfalls as a community, I guess you can call it, is when we see high short interest, we automatically mean that's an opportunity to squeeze. That's not the case.
True.
And I think we fall for that a lot. And then when people saw, I mean, the numbers there, I mean, I think I saw somewhere was like 400% shorted at one time. I don't know if it was on Ortec. It was some crazy number. And that's why I didn't get it. So I'm like, this makes no sense. It just sold for 50-something cents, and now it's over shorted and it's running. I was, what the hell's going on?
So 200% short interest. I mean, that's the thing, is the short interest could be 10%, but if your share price is $50 a share, then you're talking different values that could rise really quick and change. But if Redbox has a float, I don't know if Fintel is correct on this or not, or if they're correct and everybody else is wrong. Or not Fintel, Fidelity. But they're showing the shares outstanding is 45.4 million. So you're telling me that there's what, 50, 100 million shares short of Redbox? But what they're reporting is Fidelity is reporting the shares sold short is 3.52 million.
Yeah, the numbers don't make sense when you look at all the different reporting agencies. They're all over the place.
You want to talk about fuckery, man.
I'm kind of curious how it's gonna end up. I mean, is it gonna pump up higher and then just drop back down to 90 cents like instantly with no stops?
Looking at the chart, yeah, like you said today too, no halt.
Remember the halt of 32? That was an opening bell, and there was some, like, everyone was calling foul, and someone posted there's some rule on a uptick to downtick in the first 15 minutes, like 5%. It was some weird rule, and this thing's been ripping, and it's not stopped.
the 34 halt was Citadel. I watched the price and sales, and I was watching the Citadel DEX exchange just go absolutely nuts, slapping the ass. They triggered that halt specifically. What I think happened, that was 2 weeks before Melvin Capital announced they were going to close down. I think Melvin covered their IWM shorts, which caused AMC and the IWM to run simultaneously. And Citadel came in, let them cover, triggered the halt so the price wouldn't run, and ate up their short position to drag it back down before any squeeze could commence.
Oh yeah, did you see some of the prices that were lined up that were next to go? There was like $1,400 a share,
Yep.
$500. I mean, it was insane. That was going to be a rip.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you guys don't like Lou, but he was calling it the rip that month, and that was it. They just manipulated to stop it.
Well, what's funny is we had people DMing me and talking on the space call about their E-Trade and their price alerts from their brokerages on their phone. They woke up and said they had $340 per share on AMC.
I was on Ameritrade, and when it halted, it flashed like $400 and went back down to the other price.
Yeah, it's.
I didn't get to see a picture of it, but I mean, then you look to the history and the level 2 data, and you can see what was lined up. It was big numbers with nothing on the other side.
You know what the government and regulators are waiting for? They're waiting for us to get used to this so much that nobody cares anymore. It's just like, and I hate to use this as an example, but the Uvalde school shooting is already off the radar. The Ukraine war fell off the radar within a month. You know, these big events fall off the radar within months, and they think
2 week cycle, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They think we're going to quit talking about this shit and quit fighting for it. And I'll tell you, if anything, watching this REDBOX garbage, I'm more motivated to start fighting harder against this market shit than anything now, because, I mean, you're sitting and watching AMC be down 4% today when we have multiple sources, pretty credible, stating that we're over $500 a share average. You got RQ2 looking to be positive right now. Jurassic World Dominion made pre-sales of $18 million pre-showing. So it's
And Top Gun's still ripping.
Oh, Top Gun was sold out at I got in to watch Jurassic Park yesterday, and she's like, number 5 on the right. And I said, what do you mean on the right? I was like, isn't this IMAX? She goes, no, Top Gun's still in IMAX. I'm like, what? I was like,
Yeah, that movie's and I don't know, is that movie, I know Tom Cruise likes putting his contracts at 90 days in theater before streaming. Did Top Gun make that? Does anyone know?
I think it was 45 still. I'm not sure. They might be in negotiations to stop it, though. Let me check.
But even 45.
Yeah, but you know about the reporting, I really think that there's less people who are actively holding the stock. You know, there's some people who are swing trading, buying the dips, because we're buying so many shares. People are selling those shares back on a daily basis it always hits between 9:30 and 10:30, 12, 3:30 and 4:30. Those numbers go up and down. So some people aren't just buying and holding. Some people are, but I think there's a good portion of apes who are swing trading.
Yeah, there could be. There definitely could be.
And I'm guilty. After the run up in June, around, I think it was through August and September, I was rinsing and washing because it was so predictable, the price. And I was just buying back more shares what I do. So I maybe sell 100 shares, on like Monday, Tuesday, and then buy them back on Friday and just get 115 shares. So I was doing that too, just because I was like, this is easy money. I mean, you just look what you could, even now you know where it's going to close because of the back's pain. You kind of know where we're going to be.
And if people keep doing that, make your money, do what you got to do. But the whole point with the diamond hand situation is we were going to squeeze shorts out. It was the same thing with these options trading and selling cover calls and whatnot. If retail is the one draining the liquidity out of the play, we're never going to squeeze. That's
and I agree. I stopped around November. I started getting. Then I'm like, this is stupid. Then I just started buying my 401k every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's why the DRS seems to be working. It seems like it's making a difference.
I think it is. I think that's where we're seeing short interest and cost to borrow go up on both plays.
So the Top Gun Maverick, they're showing, it says it may show a window of 45 days. This is on a Rolling Stone, but it's through Paramount. So I'd imagine if it's going to be streamed anywhere first, Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
And that would be around July 11th, my dad's birthday.
Whatever. Good
fantastic.
Good for Paramount, man, because they made a freaking banger movie and they deserve to make their profits.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'm usually not like a movie star fan or anything like that. I mean, I like them in movies, but I try not to idolize those guys and gals. But I do appreciate Tom Cruise fighting for the theaters, and I wish more would do that. The big stars, putting their clauses, got to go to the theater. I mean, shit, we all saw how much they got killed during COVID because when you stream, it's easy to pirate. Anyone can record it. They know it. They need the theaters.
I'm going to tag Paramount right now and tell them they should consider a 90-day window because Top Gun was sold out at 4 p.m. yesterday at my theater.
Well, and I haven't seen it yet. It just sucks. I was in high school. I was a junior in high school when the first one came out, and that was like our whole theme in life was that Top Gun movie. And I've already heard people see it 2 or 3 times already, and they say it's better every time they watch it. I can't wait.
I would say 90 would be too long for that because it's like double the time of everything else. But 60-day window would be perfect for that one, I think, compared to the 45 for sure.
Yeah, and there's a crap load of good movies coming. I was at another space call, and the guy was reading them all off, and I was like, through 2023, the lineup is insane.
So on top of movies, Spence, what are your thoughts on Elon Musk and his tweet yesterday?
So here's the thing with Elon Musk, and it's super interesting. The day that Project Veritas released the video of the Twitter executive making fun of Musk for having Asperger's, I DM'd Adam Aaron and said AMC should do an Asperger's Awareness Month. I can't get a hold of Mr. Musk. Maybe you could get in contact with him and do an AMC Asperger's Awareness Month. And Adam Aaron DM'd me back and said, thank you for sharing the idea. Right? That was pretty rare to get a DM back from him. Not even 2 weeks later, Musk tweets out a thing about popcorn. And then just recently, you saw what he did yesterday. So I'm wondering if Adam Aaron did get in touch with him and said, hey, let's do this Asperger's Awareness Month. We were doing it in honor of you and Twitter making fun of you and all that, which is bullshit. But we've talked about this in the community since the old SATEC days where we were trying to walk a float there about having Tesla superchargers at the theater locations. And not only that, Musk has had his page blown up with Highcroft mine stuff since he talked about buying a mine. And then yesterday, Diane Garrett posts a new video about Highcroft Mine talking about the new high-grade deposits with a Tesla in it by badge recognition. You would have to get permission to do that, as far as I know.
I don't disagree with you, but do you really think there's some coordination, or you think it's just red?
Well, I'm not trying to be like optimally I can't.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yes. Words are hard today.
Friday.
The only thing, because immediately when that was going around, I think another company had a that's also an EV company, Hyliion, and it's based in Texas, and they had a picture of they basically have a truck that kind of rivals Tesla's like diesel or the electric like truck for those kind of cars, for like those diesel trucks that for the semis. Well, the product that they do have right now is actually a drivetrain that you can retrofit to current trucks, so it's not as cost effective. It's not breaking the bank of buying a $200,000 new truck and stuff like that. Well, there's a picture of a freaking HEB truck, which they thought they had a contract, or there's rumors that, hey, maybe HEB is doing stuff with them and so on and so forth. And I was like, that stock went up all the way to like 50 something, and now it's sitting at like $3 and something. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well, the coincidence is, at first, when everybody was talking about the lithium and Highcroft, I didn't not support that theory, but I stayed away from it because, if anything, from what I saw in the geological surveys from the .gov websites, was there's a lot of uranium, which Sprott is really big into uranium out there. So I kind of stayed away from that. But as time has went on, you've got Musk tweeting back at Terra, Adam Aaron answering my DM, talking about Asperger's. You got Musk immediately a week later posting popcorn emojis and now talking about the movies, then talking about buying a mining company, and now Highcroft has a video with a Tesla in it. It's just, it's hard to, I'm not saying it's going to happen either way because I can't prove that. but it's hard to deny the coincidences that are happening between these three companies.
Yeah, well, and there's no way that Tesla as a company is not talking to Highcraft because of location to the
Right.
battery factory in Nevada. And, the fact that, we all know Elon Musk's story when he first started out, the SEC in San Francisco. And if you don't Google it, it's amazing. He says exactly what they did to him and screwed him over, made him lie about funding. He hates short selling. He's not a fan of the SEC. Now, he always says SEC San Francisco because he's probably trying to stay out of the hot water. But there's no way he doesn't at least have sympathy for us. And then I Googled the other day because I was curious who has Asperger's, in public. There's a lot of, Jerry Seinfeld has Asperger's. There's a lot of actors that have Asperger's.
Yeah.
That was kind of amazing to see. So, I mean, there's no way he's not at least sympathetic to our, like the Dogecoin thing. He was kind of like sympathetic to that one, throw stupid things out and goof with that coin. But there's no way he's not in contact with at least the mind, or at least Tesla doesn't have a vested interest in that mind being successful.
Well,
I like to play devil's advocate. I think he's good. I don't want to give him too much of the benefit of the doubt until something happens. I mean, at any point, he could just throw money into HYMC or AMC like he was with Twitter. It's not like he doesn't have the money to throw around. So him putting out a tweet and pumping his stock or doing something to get money, I feel good about it. Until I see him actually do something, I want to reserve, too much praise from him. I like him. I think he's got good stuff. I just don't want to praise him, endlessly until I see some action.
I agree. And if you were going to buy a company, you would pump the stock up before you bought it. I mean, guy is a businessman as well. I mean, you might not say anything negative, but you don't think you would try to pump it up since to buy it at a premium. I mean, look what he's done to Twitter. Exposed all the crap so you can buy it cheaper. So, but he needs silver. I mean, silver's one of the most suppressed commodity we got out there. Silver should be worth almost as much as gold because of what silver's needed for actual electronics.
Yeah, and if it's not Tesla, like there's going to be EV vehicles that are going to need it regardless. Tesla is the biggest one if you look at the market share for EV vehicles, Tesla has the thing there. So for me, you can kind of make sense like, oh, Tesla's going to be there compared to like all the other vehicles. I drive through the parking lot at my work where they have the plug stations. Probably like 80% of them are Tesla. So like the fact that they're using a Tesla for whatever reason, that it would make sense if they're going to pull an EV vehicle. That's going to be the most common one.
Well,
and the location of Highcroft. I mean, Highcroft is, if you look at the map, it's right near the battery factory.
No, I don't doubt that. I mean, the location and everything else, that makes 1,000% sense.
Down the highway too.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the reason he hasn't done it already? I mean, he could have bought Highcroft when it was 28 cents or 84 cents. And he could buy it now at $1.25 or $1.35.
That guy is under so much scrutiny by the SEC. They want his ass so bad, so he has to be very careful. Like, I was shocked at the Twitter thing.
It could be they're just waiting for Highcroft to finalize their production plant. They're setting up their mill and their POX processing right now. Like they're completing their technical study on it. Before,
if he's waiting for that, wouldn't he be like, oh, if I did it, I can get in cheap. Once they find out the value, if the value goes up, he's got to buy it, at a higher cost.
Yeah, but look what he did with Bitcoin. He bought Bitcoin at a really high price, and now is probably at a loss on it, but he's still holding it. So it's not. I don't think he's sitting here like we are going, oh, I could get this at 28 cents now instead of $2. But I think more or less to get it approved by the board, the company would have to have the proper assets to do what they want to do. You know what I mean? So I don't think they normally would look at, oh, we'll save 50 cents by getting in early. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Except Highcroft, what's the market cap? It's not that big. 7.3 billion? Is that what it is? That's the average shit. Where's it at? What's the market cap of Highcraft?
Let me look it up.
244 million.
Yeah.
I mean, he could buy the company with his personal funds.
Here's what's crazy is in the past 4 to 6 months, Biden announced he's going to do they're supporting the Intel factory that's going into Ohio, the semiconductor factory they want to build, right? So that's big. That's, what do they say, a $2 billion to $100 billion or $10 billion to $100 billion investment is what they plan on putting in. So they're going to have to contract resources to build these semiconductors, which they need silver and gold, right? Then you also just had Biden say, we're going to initiate the Defense Production Act for solar. And I tweeted, I said, man, I hope he doesn't just do this and then give all the money, they send all the money overseas to China and other solar manufacturing companies and they try to keep it, local to North and South America. Either way, he released the tariffs on the Chinese, Southeast Asia solar technologies. But either way, that puts another huge demand on global silver because solar panels use a lot of silver.
Yeah.
So
China makes almost all the solar panels. I worked for a company that used to make solar panels, and we dropped it because China was undercutting so bad.
right.
So China, I think there's like 10 major players, and 8 of the 10 are in China.
Well, and the worst thing about it is they don't follow any like real EPA regulations. I did a paper on it in college about, I don't know, like 2012, I think. And the amount of pollution they create from their waste from silicon is just insane.
Oh, well, we saw it during the Olympics, remember?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is it raining? Oh, no, that's just smog.
So the massive potential of Highcroft is there. I think we all know that.
So with Tesla being in Texas as well, Samsung also is building a freaking $17 billion, 1,200 acre facility in Taylor, Texas, which isn't that far from where the gigaplant is. Literally down the freeway, probably about like a 30-minute drive.
I've been to Taylor.
You've been to Taylor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not too far from it, but yeah. So there's so much that's going to be huge with that, and like I don't know. I would even look into what mines are even in Texas, because the fact that he has a plant here, it wouldn't be that difficult for him to also find a mine that's near Texas as well. So I don't know any operational mines that may be something to look into also.
Well, most of those companies, I live near Silicon Valley and I grew up there. Most of those companies are moving there for tax reasons. And Nevada has a very similar tax structure as Texas. I don't think there's no state income tax. Their capital gains tax is a lot looser. Their corporate tax is a little bit looser. So that's why you get a lot of corporations move. I mean, even Google and Apple and all them have major stakes in Texas for tax reasons.
Apple's like tripling their facility. They currently have a facility I think houses about like 5,000 to 6,000. In the next couple of years, they're gonna have another facility. It's gonna house about like 15,000 to 20,000.
Yeah, like Oracle, they moved their corporate headquarters there, but they still left a lot of stuff in the Bay Area. So they moved their corporate headquarters, but leave everything else for total tax advantages. And I don't know if you follow real estate or anything, but definitely before COVID, Apple and Google and, who else was it? They were buying all the real estate up and building mega apartment complexes and then renting them back to their employees for a fortune.
Yeah, I didn't see. I'm not aware of the Apple, and I may have some inside info on that one, but yeah.
It was crazy, but yeah. So
I know some of them will have like corporate facilities that they usually house for people that they, transfer over, but they're usually nothing's been like price wise for it, if anything.
No, they were buying as holding. They're not like an Apple. They rent to anybody, but they're buying a bunch of real estate. If you look up Apple, Google, BlackRock's huge in the Bay Area too. They buy up a bunch of real estate, and then they build. Like I grew up in the Bay Area, and it was not a big before Silicon Valley. It was nice. Everything's laid out. Now apartments are 10 stories tall. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then you got to pay $10,000 a month to stay in a little, 900 square foot apartment.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though too if you're traveling. If you move people around, paying hotel fees and all that other stuff might be cheaper doing that at the same time.
Yeah. Well, they were actually long-term employees were staying there. So then you could pay your employee $200,000, $300,000 a year, but you're getting half that money back in rent.
Right.
Texas is going to end up being the tech capital of the world pretty soon.
Absolutely. I go to El Paso for work and Dallas, and I love Texas.
Me too.
I'm a California guy. And,
dude, I miss Texas. I'll have a house out on the Gulf somewhere so I can watch the rocket launches after my kid turns 18. So,
yeah, I go to Albuquerque about every other month, and I feel bad for you. Yeah.
I like it here. It's the traffic sucks, but once you know all the good places to go, it's pretty fun, man. Like
It is. It's just really small. I didn't realize how small New Mexico was as a state. It's like, isn't like 90% of the population in Albuquerque, and then Santa Fe is the other part, basically?
yeah. Outside of those two, unless you're going north into the Jemez Mountains before Colorado, there's like nothing. Elephant Butte's not bad. Um, um, Virgin Galactic's down there, but other than that, don't get caught driving out in the middle of New Mexico without a spare tank of gas, man. I drove down one time heading back to Texas, took a wrong turn real late, and ended up out somewhere between Roswell and Albuquerque. In the middle of this field, it was foggy in the desert at nighttime, and there was one cop sitting in the middle of the road with his lights on. And I pulled up and I said, I can't get through here to go to Roswell. And he goes, nope, you got to turn around. And I said, well, where the hell am I supposed to go? He goes, it doesn't matter, but you can't come through here. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on, man? I thought I was going to get abducted or something.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, I do work on, I'm a government contractor. I've been on Roswell, and it's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It's all military. I've never seen alien crap there, but there's definitely places.
You're paid to say that. I don't believe you.
Well, you just can't go certain areas. Like when you're like, I go on a lot of government bases, even high security government bases, and I have way more free reign. When you're on Roswell, you have a armed guard with you the whole time.
Yep.
It's a whole different. The other place that I was like that is crap. I can't remember. It's in California. And it's because it's a live fire range. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, you're talking about by the Duck
Twin
Bowl
Palms.
by Fort Irwin.
Twin Palms or Palms, I think.
Yeah.
It's Navy or it's Marine.
They got to keep you safe.
Yeah, well, that place is crazy. I didn't like being there.
I'll tell you what, man. I love doing it, but I do not miss traveling around with the government anymore. Like I don't miss it at all.
Yeah, I've never been in the service, so thank you, Spence. But I do sell to the government.
Right. I used to contract. I used to work for aviation companies in Huntsville, and then work for the integration facility on Redstone. So I was all over the freaking world doing what you were doing for a while, man.
It's cool stuff. I mean, I used to cover Camp Pendleton, and that place was crazy. I mean, I was driving like a little Toyota Camry, and I look in the rearview mirror. It's a training facility mostly for Marines.
Right.
Big old tank behind me that says "Caution, Student Driver." I'm like, that's not cool. I pulled over and let him go by. I'm like, he crushed me like a tin can.
Yeah. Well, it's fun working with the soldiers, man, because, the contractor-soldier relationship is pretty important, in my opinion, because a lot of contractors will give a new perspective to the soldiers while they're in, so.
Yeah, well, and it's also like they know what they need, and there's so much red tape in the government, and a lot of times you can find tools for them to get what they need, contracts and stuff.
Yes.
They love you because you can get what they need.
Yep.
So no, and I love the military. I mean, I live in California. If I could relocate to San Diego, I would in a heartbeat.
Hey, if I could leave Michigan, right? Live in California with my family, that would be great. Hey, what's up, Spence, Hank, T-Dog?
How you
Hey.
doing?
Kind of showed up a little late. I'm actually on a lot of Benadryl right now. I had an allergic reaction, so
Uh-oh.
if I fall asleep, you'll know why. That's why, because that shit makes you sleepy.
Depends what you mix with it.
Well, I'm not mixing anything with it because I wouldn't want even a worse. I had an allergic reaction. I woke up with a swollen face this morning. Like,
Jeez.
yeah, those women out there that they put like too much filler in their face. They don't look real. It looks like they've done too much surgery. That's what my face looks like right now. And I
No,
don't-
you just had a bad Botox. You had a bad
But
Botox.
that's what I look like. It's
People pay
ridiculous.
good money to look like that. You got it for free. Think of it like that.
I wanted to go, hey, it looks bad, people.
My wife does Botox every like 2 months. And
It looks bad. I mean, yeah, this is what filler would look like on me if I had a lot,
You look like
Jeez.
you look like Bogdanov.
Oh, yeah. A little bit. I see a little bit of a resemblance, yeah.
Was it food or like a spider bite or something? Or do you even know?
Well, so I went to urgent care, and I'm not having like a dangerous reaction to it, just a super swollen face. Like I'm I can breathe easily, swallow, so it's not anything too crazy. But they think that I started like 3 days ago a beta blocker. It's like a really super low, the lowest dose ever of a beta blocker for my frequent PVCs that I've been having. So it's this medication my cardiologist recently prescribed for me. But they're thinking that I could be having a reaction actually to that. So the recommendation from the urgent care people was like, just stop taking that, and talk to your cardiologist. Maybe get on something different or whatever.
I know what it is, Jen. You're allergic to bullshit, and seeing Redbox run made your face swell up.
Man, if you guys could only see my face right now, you would not recognize me. It looks ridiculous.
Pics. Put it in the face. Do it.
No, I'm not. No.
Do it.
Hell no. No. Especially like I don't have makeup on and stuff. Like hell no.
Wait, so could Redbox have possibly run because shorts were also shorting Redbox along with movie companies?
See, I'm glad you came up, Jay Brett. So Apollo Global owns most of Redbox, right? So there's reporting agencies saying it's 200% short interest. Fidelity's only reporting 30%. And if you look at Fintel, there's like no puts put out on this. So who's actually shorting Redbox? Did Apollo set this up to report massive short interest so they could make the stock price run on retail money and dump it and then play the downside too? Because
Possibly.
It's not like Redbox has anything going for it.
I almost wonder if they didn't have some sort of convertible debt. Kind of like what what was the company that had the convertible debt on AMC back
Silver
last
Lake?
year? Was it Silver Lake?
Silver Lake or Mudrick?
I think I'm thinking of Mudrick.
Who was the Chinese company that was?
Oh, Wanda.
Yeah, Wanda. They were the big ones though. So if you look at it this way, Apollo loves to do LBOs. That is their shtick, right?
Right.
That's the thing where they make tons of money. It's lucrative. It's nasty. It's the reason why companies go out of business. They do death spiral lending. And one thing that they could be, and they did the death spiral lending with Carvana too, right? So what if they're holding on to some number of bond maturities on Redbox, which legitimately does not really have much of a bull case at this point, unless the bull case is that, oh shit, Netflix is going down and Netflix was, competing against Redbox, which that seems like the most astronomically insane bull thesis I could possibly think of. Like, that's the only one I could think of at this point for Redbox. Is like,
haven't you heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul? They make just like the most inspiring books. It makes no sense that they would not be tanking and thriving in this economy where people read so many books about chicken soup for your soul.
For the soul.
Anyway,
I remember those.
I just think that it's possible that they were getting out of whatever position they had. And maybe that was a short, or maybe it was convertible debt. I don't know how much Apollo is in global equities markets. I know they're on the side of lending, and that's more their heavy area. So, like, my thought is that they probably held some sort of convertible debt similar to the deal they struck with, I think, there was somebody, like Wanda is a good example, but like they do these leveraged buyouts on companies. Like one of their most recent ones was Rackspace, which is a company I used to work for. And they took them off the market. I think it was in 2016 or something like that. And then they stripped out a lot of workers. They fired, middle management, which is not really a big loss, but they also started firing like actual useful staff and outsourcing it to other companies and doing mergers and acquisitions and like getting parts of the company. And so you saw people who had been there for, 10 plus years leave because they were basically told, you're losing your job here. And that happened. The same thing happened with Claire's when they bought them in the 90s. And that's happened with several other companies. Apollo Global has bought and flipped over the years. And another example is AMC, because they had bought AMC a long time ago and then dumped it on the market, which is when it IPO'd. So, you know, they've got a bad history of like them releasing a company on the public after they've gone and LBO'd it, and then it just dumping out hard, you know. So maybe that's the next destiny, so to speak, for REDBOX, is they've gotten out of their position, and so now it's time for the, you know, other sharks or minnows, I guess, to come in and kind of like eat away what's left of REDBOX, maybe.
It's just absolutely crazy, man.
Yep.
I'm watching how much Apollo owns. I'm looking at this reported short interest. I'm looking at their company structure. Unless like Amazon comes in and plans on buying out Redbox for licensing, which I think they already have the majority of anything they would have anyways.
Yeah, they don't have any shorting of licensing. Apparently the MGM deal went through.
Yeah.
So they've got an entire studio of licensing available to them, which includes the James Bond series, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's huge money. So they, you know, they've got a full studio at their disposal now, which is kind of like on top of the studio they already built from the ground up, you know, dragging in execs and talent from other companies in LA. But now they add in a movie company, and I'd see that as being like them pushing into a theaters. You know, maybe that's the next choice, or maybe they just have special, you know, Prime deals, because they really like to focus on the value of Prime, and trying to extend that like Prime is a good value for every customer. Like that is one of the core things they talk about all the time, is like, how can we make Prime a better deal for customers? And how can we get more people to be Prime members?
That's true. It's very true.
I know. I worked there for 7 years. I heard it like on a quarterly basis. You know, like it's and it's not something like people are trying to be malicious about it either. It's literally just people are like, how can we deliver a better deal for a customer? At least when you're talking below the VP level, for sure. So when you're talking about, you know, general managers, senior software development managers, senior managers, line managers, and then even down to your engineers that, you know, throughout the entire stack, like all the way from the DEs down to which DEs are VPs, DE being distinguished engineer, all the way down to like your, you know, like L5 engineers. They all just want to do, like, deliver better features and benefits for customers. Like they're not in thinking any sort of nefarious thing. So like when they're doing something for Prime, they're trying to figure out a way to like make it better for you or me. And I you know, maybe I have drunk too much Kool-Aid over 7 years, but I feel like it's pretty consistent with my experience with people I've interacted with. I've met a lot of really great people. But at the same time, you know, who knows who's pulling some strings at a higher level and maybe changing the narrative somewhat. But I think there's a lot of those meetings are more or less open notes. There's very few things that aren't, you know, that are super locked tight, from my experience. So, you know, maybe somebody's got something they're doing that they're not talking about. But outside of that, like, I think, you know, vast majority of people are just wanting to do a better job for customers. So I think, you know, if you acquire a movie studio and you want to make Prime something that every customer has, then your offering is like, hey, maybe we have some exclusive movie that you can do like on demand, you know, because they already have Prime Video. So I feel like that's an integration that kind of makes sense. But still, I see like an argument for like maybe having, you know, a feature film in a movie theater. I don't know. I never worked with that side of the business though. Aside from I did some beta testing for them 5 years ago or so.
Hey, did you see the poll I ran, Jay Brett? I just pinned it up top. I think you did.
The share
Yeah.
count.
It's
Yeah,
over-
I commented on it earlier.
It's over 2,600 votes. From, I'll just read it off. People who voted more than 100 shares was 21.6%. More than 500 was 21.2%. More than 1,000 was 37.3%. And more than 5,000 was 19.9% out of a sample group of 2,600. And
So we basically doubled the sample group, but the distribution looks roughly the same.
Yep.
I think, yeah, I want to say that distribution looks the same as it did about 1,000. What did I say? 1,500 votes. So there was another 1,100 votes added, and it hasn't really materially changed the data.
Exactly.
Like it hasn't changed the distribution. Sorry, the distribution, that's interesting, right? Because now we can up the number and kind of get more of an extrapolation of like, okay, well, this trend holds pretty good if 37% of retail investors truly do hold 1,000 or more shares. Like that's over 1 million people holding 1,000 shares. That's wait, is that a billion?
With 1,000 shares and 5,000 shares, that would actually be over 1,000
over a
shares would
billion.
actually be over 52%.
Wait, no. 1,000 shares at 37% with 1 million investors. No, that's over. Oh, I guess that's 300 million. Yeah, just with 1,000 shares, right?
Well,
If you
then
extrapolate it out.
also count in the people who own more than 5,000 because they would fit into the above 1,000 bracket too. You know what I mean?
Right, and that one actually becomes slightly more interesting, right? If you assume that 20% of investors hold 5,000 shares, which I don't know that I find that to be a difficult argument to make, given that I myself have accumulated 3,400 shares,
Right.
half of which I think I did in the last 5 or 6 months, So I could see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like me that are a little older than you guys, and we took a chunk of our 401k and put it in. So that's 5,000 is not a lot in the big.
Yeah. I took some out of my IRA 401k to make almost half of that purchase.
Yeah. Plus it's tax free until you get to use it, which is great. No capital gain.
Yep.
What was AA back the first time we talked about something 90% of the float? Wasn't that based on like 100 something shares a person or something like that?
Yeah.
It was like 194 shares a person or something like that.
It went from
164.
100 the first time he said it to 119 the second time he said it.
And then they stopped saying that number because it gets a little obvious that that's not right.
Well, then they started putting the DRS information like they did in the proxy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was really interesting because the wording says, I forgot the exact number of DRS individuals, but it said something like 49,500 people directly registered with ComputerShare own the 516.8 million authorized shares.
The wording on that was really odd, in my opinion. I'm because first of all, I don't know that they would have released that math the way that it was if it really implied the float was overbought, because that would indicate from a legal standpoint that they should have already taken action, which would have potentially opened them up to lawsuits, right? So the way that I read that is that 90% of the float, after you remove all of the shares that are held by index funds and other funds, right, would then be retail shares, which means however much institutions technically owned, which would include the index funds, would then be that number that was pulled out of the float, right? So you'd have to take the 516 million and you subtract, whatever that number is from there. Like if it's, I don't know if it's, 120 million or what, I would assume that a good chunk of those index funds and mutual funds and institutional owners are all like loaning those. Those are the ones that a majority of the loans for the shorts are coming from. So, I don't know. It's the numbers are murky, and I want to see the math that they're coming up with for those, because that would tell us, or tell me at least, whether or not how I should be adjusting math to determine whether or not you're at this critical this critical share count point, because I've been trying to work with other data and numbers to try and prove out the point, but that so far had not really panned out for me in the way that we kind of thought it was going to work out. So I haven't gone back. I haven't spent as much time going back and working on that, because I've been working on other aspects of my business for the last couple months.
Do we own the float like they're wording it, or do we own the portion of the float without the funds
Exactly.
Which I think we do, just based on the number of shares that we're predicting is out there. I think they have to, the brokers and computer share and these agencies have to report that retail investors own those shares. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with the DRS part, definitely. I 100% agree. But again, the wording of that in AMC's filing to me didn't state that computer share was all of those shares owned by the shareholders. I think it was if you combine DRS and institutional and this, it equals the 516 million, because that's just basically stating the existing fact we've already known for years, right?
Yeah, I read it 10 times, and part of me wants to say it's 90% of the entire float, and part of the reason says no, they mean 90% of the float after institution.
Exactly. See, that's how I feel. I'm just
every time I read it, I think a different way.
Clarify this.
You guys, Pipe Dog's in the room. What's up, Pipe?
Hey guys, the institutional ownership right now is 190,678,303 shares. Intel.
On AMC?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, 190 million. So 190 million out of 516 million is what? That's close to 30%.
Hey, I just realized that Froggy Styles has his room up. I'm actually gonna bounce out on all of you and jump over to Froggy's room if you guys want to join me, because we're more than likely going to be talking about all this stuff anyways.
Yeah.
Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah, that sounds fine with me.
Okay. Because my 3D printer is making a lot of freaking noise. I'm printing a T-Rex dinosaur head, so I'm going to jump over to Froggy's room.
You're not putting a trade tool or anything like that, are you? Trades tool in the background?
No, I don't have dildos on my shelf. Thank you very much.
No, those are all hidden under boxes under your bed, right?
He learned from the trades episode.
I don't own a single dildo, just so everybody knows.
He's got them all in these.
I mean, good for you if you do, but I personally do not own it. All right, guys, thanks for coming in and adding to the conversation. I'm going to keep on the REDBOX topic because I'm not going to say it now. I'm not going to necessarily say I'm going to do it, but I'm drooling at the bit to short this thing, to be totally honest with you.
I'm so happy that I shorted DocuSign a few days back, because after their earnings they dropped $25 in after hours. So it literally overnight I went from being 20 or 30% down to being 50% up.
Well, that's what's crazy is I see Apollo Global owning the majority of the outstanding shares, and I know they're bad folks, and I know what they do. And then all of a sudden, there's no MSM coming out against REDBOX. There's no ape hunters coming out against REDBOX. But our favorite YouTubers are out there talking about it, promoting it, saying that there's some massive illegal corruption going on by them shorting a company 200%. But in reality, I'm looking at it as bait.
Yeah, well, I mean, also somebody posted something about it on a reply to one of Tara's tweets too, and I was like, how does this thing have anything to do with what we were talking about with AMC?
Right.
There was no interconnection of this or saying like, oh, look at Redbox, it's running. They've said something about competing with AMC. Like, they didn't do that, you know? So like, who cares about the fact that they've got call option volume and, you know, whatever it was that, you know, Unusual Whales, I think, had posted. It was like Unusual Whales had a post about options volume, and then on top of that, you had, you know, YouTubers talking about, you know, Redbox. Who knows?
You know, and people have made money off of it. Good for you if you went long and made money. Believe me, that's okay. You made money, awesome. I'm not going to dog anybody for going long on it, but I just see it as a complete distraction away from where we're at today. And we all knew that this week and next week coming up, one, we got massive movie revenues coming in, two, 14032 executive order, and we had all kinds of news coming out about AMC, and then suddenly Redbox just pops up out of nowhere with every major AMC YouTuber talking about it with 200% short interest, and come to find out Apollo owns the fucker. And I'm sitting here going, who's pushing this shit? So anyways, I'm
also,
what do you
there's one other part about that that like had it and then I lost it. Shit, never mind.
What's your opinion on any what would your opinion be on someone shorting this thing, Jay?
I haven't done enough looking into it yet.
Okay, too soon to say.
Yeah, like I'd have to actually go look at it. I was looking at the tech sector because like I know the tech sector, right? I've worked in the tech sector for the last 10 years, so I know when people are throwing around marketing bullshit,
Right.
and when like there's something legitimate going on. And that's kind of why I shorted, you know, DocuSign, and I shorted what was the other one? CRM,
That's
which
crazy.
is
I love DocuSign.
there's nothing wrong with DocuSign. DocuSign as a product, as a company, is not bad. The reality is that they don't have an economic moat. They don't have any distinguishing factor within the market that makes them better than their next biggest competitor, which is Adobe, which is a giant that is going to swallow them whole. And that's what I think is going to happen. We're talking about a 40x PE multiple on DocuSign, that a lot of which was gained during the pandemic. I have no clue why, because like DocuSign shouldn't be this massive growth story. DocuSign should be this, we're making a lot of profit because there's not much to do here. It's not a complicated product. But also, because it's not a complicated product, there can be a billion copycats that will steal your market share, which is exactly what's happened to DocuSign. They've got Adobe, and then they've got like 9 other competitors in that space. Like I just did a top 10 competitors to DocuSign in a Google search, and I had a list of top 10 that competed with it in under like a minute of searching on Google, and seeing Adobe in that list with a different product than just the Reader product. They have a specific like Adobe Sign product, which I'm sure is part of their cloud suite. But the fact that they have something, even if it's not as good right now, Adobe could just go, we don't like that we have to compete with DocuSign anymore. And they're no longer at these outsized growth earnings. So we're just going to acquire them to put it on our balance sheet and say, we've got the product, we own the IP, and then they just go about their business, right? But I think they would wait for a much more lucrative multiple in order to pick them up, because you're going to see a lot less, you know, like if we go into a recession, you're going to see a lot less people signing contracts for homes, which that's a big portion of their business. Because like, I know I signed my home loan 5 years ago or 6 years ago with DocuSign, right? Anyway, let's go to the other channel. We can talk about it over there. I'm rambling.
I thought
Sorry.
you never were going to say that, Jay Brent.
Yeah, we'll
I know,
roll
I was
over.
just like, I'm
Yeah,
on a
sure.
roll, you know?
Jay Brett. And people, I use DocuSign for way more than just home stuff too. I use it almost on a weekly basis now. So
Sure, a lot of businesses do, but my point is that if we go into a recession, that there's going to be less businesses that are
hey,
gonna
shut
be...
up. We need to go the other room.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Shut up, Jay Brett.
You baited me into it. You baited me into
No, we're
it.
talking.
All right, everybody, thanks for coming to the show. I'm going to do more research on Redbox because I just smell, I don't know, man. This purchase, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Apollo being involved, the overall streaming sector has taken a complete nosedive in the past 6 months, and the dilution of the streaming sector is so big now with Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Prime. Everybody's streaming something. It's just so out of control. And to think that they're going to capitalize off of Redbox members, which their membership numbers have nosedived. Not too many people go to Redboxes anymore and rent videos. So, back in 2016 when they had, 40, 50 million perk members, maybe, but now, those members are invalid. It's like Twitter saying they have this many users and must say no. So anyways, thanks for coming. I'm going to go over to Froggy Styles call. Nothing I say is financial advice, you guys. You know that. I'm looking at Redbox. I'm going to watch it. AMC, HYMC had a great day today. I'm loving it. GME had a great day. I'm loving it. Those are my 3 plays. That's what I'm sticking to. AMC's recovering. Man, you guys have a good weekend. Go to the movies. Blow it up. Q2 is huge. You got Top Gun. You got Jurassic World Dominion. And you got Lightyear coming out in about a week, I think. Even if, go see some of the other movies too. There's other things in theater. I'm looking way forward to Q2 in August. I think around August 10th. I will be streaming that call live. Thank you for coming. Froggy Stonks out.